Hello, and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Green from CoachValerieGreen.com. And this podcast is all about bringing you the world's top experts on mind, body, and spirit connection so that you can have that soul shaking connection both with yourself and attract or be more drawn to your life partner than you ever have been so that you can have a lifetime of soul shaking love with them. And I'm so excited today to be bringing you Lisa Copeland. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Valerie. It's so nice to be here with you.
So great to be here with you. And Lisa and I have chatted before, and I'm really excited because she is a leading internationally recognized love coach and dating expert for women over 50, which is such an important niche because as we're moving into, the 21st century and really having it that we can create the relationship the way we want it. And I'm 43, so I'm moving into that area of my life. And a lot of my clients that I work with are in their 50s and 60s. And it's a time in our lives when maybe we're divorced or the kids are out of the house and we don't have a script for how it should be now. And if we're divorced, then we might be scared of getting out there and dating again. And there's so many issues that people run into at this age. And so I'm really excited to just give you Lisa and all of her expertise about how to make dating fun.
So how to make dating fun? A lot of it is to know what you're doing. I think that's the biggest thing.
I completely agree.
And in my own life, when I don't know what I need to know to accomplish something, I find someone that can help me. And I always say, find a coach that can help you, whoever it is, whoever you resonate with, and don't collect information from a bazillion coaches, because all that does is confuse you, and it's very hard to implement, and you have no way to see if you're implementing it right. So the biggest way to have fun is to really have some type of step-by-step program that's going to give you what you need, and because it's going to take the pressure off of you, and it's going to give you the support that you need. And the other thing about having fun is, at this age over 50, it's not like in your 20s where you had to meet someone that was probably going to be the father of your children. That's what your hormones were driving you towards. Today, you have choices. Mm-hmm. So can I share those choices that you have, Valerie?
Yes, of course.
Okay, first of all, a guy doesn't have to fit in your life at all. That's number one. And always remember you have choice. Most women don't recognize this, and what they end up doing is bending themselves like a pretzel for a guy that they think they want in their life. Mm-hmm. All right. The second choice is a guy can be a friend. Let's say you just feel that you're not compatible. I wouldn't go with the chemistry thing because chemistry can't build for women. So let's say, though, that you meet a guy and you just aren't compatible as a romantic venture to move forward. And you can try and be friends with him. The problem with this of being friends is if a guy's super attracted to you, he can't be your friend because he's
right, or the other way around.
Yeah, same thing. The next option is just a boyfriend, someone you can go and hang out with, have companionship, go to the movies, go out to dinner from time to time. That's the second. That's the next one. The one after that is long-term committed relationship. And that could be living apart as well as living together, either way. And then the final one is marriage. But a lot of people in their 50s are slow to get married. 50s, 60s, and 70s are a little slower to get married because they've become independent. They like their lifestyle. They like living on their own, but they love the companionship. They love having someone that has their back. And so long-term committed living apart is often an option, but it can be whatever option feels good to you. And the reason that this makes dating more fun is that there's not this huge pressure cooker going on of saying it has to be a certain way, unless you make it that way.
Well, of course. I mean, I think it's up to each one of us to clarify. And this is what I do in part one of my book, The Commitment Roadmap. And I'm sure that you do this in your programs as well, is that the first step is really getting clear on what kind of relationship would be the most fulfilling to me and why. And, what are my emotional needs and what is my vision for the type of ways that I enjoy connecting on a deep level? How do I want to merge our lives or not? How do I want to make decisions together or not? There's like so many things that could really light us up when we think about relationship at this point in our life. And I think if we don't have role models, like you said, for how to do it differently than the traditional script, then we'll either judge ourselves for being different or feel lost and not know how to go about it.
Right, right. And I think another thing that can make it more fun is in my program, women get a clear vision of the right man by creating what's called a quality man template. And what really makes it hard for women and makes it not fun is going out and looking for their type. And this needle in the haystack, that's really what you're looking for. And the problem is your old type, it doesn't work. And if he did work, you would be with him. And
yeah, unless a woman's widowed. But the thing is that I think that it's important to recognize that as we grow, we can't assume we want the same thing as we used to. It's up to us to really have the right questions to ask ourselves to really know what we want now.
Right. But we have a tendency, because it's habit, to revert back to how we looked for someone, when we were younger. And it is different now. You want different things, especially over 50. As you age over 50, you want someone that has your back. The chemistry that you needed in your 20s and 30s for making a baby has started to wane in terms of your sexuality for both men and women of sexual performance. Just things happen.
Right,
and it's we're one of the first generations where people of such a large group of people are dating at this age, which is great because back in the day, you were almost like a cast off if you were by yourself.
Exactly. Like an old maid or those like horrible old archetypes.
Yeah, and today that is not true, and you're not alone in this.
Yes.
So what will make it fun, going back to this clear vision of the right man, is it takes you a little out of your comfort zone, but it's creating a new type. And what happens is women will say to me, I never would have seen my guy before if I hadn't had this tool. And they wouldn't have, because they would have been looking for the needle in the haystack.
Right.
And that's when people say, there's no men out there. I got news for you. Go on any dating site. There's a ton of men out there. But it's how we have our mindset about it. And the other, yeah, go ahead, Valerie.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, like what I hear you saying is, because I think the belief is there's no good men out there, right? Like there's people go on dating sites and they see that there's a ton of men out there, but they're not attracted to those men, right? But I think, or like that's what they say. And it's true, right?
It's their old type.
Like it's not the right type. And so what's important, as you probably help women do, is like do that inner work of clarifying what is it that you need versus what you think you want. And it's not like you're going for somebody who's like opposite of your type or trying to date someone that you're not attracted to. It's about once you really do that inner work to find out what really turns you on both emotionally and spiritually, like at the biggest depth, not just your old type. And you present yourself in your profile that way, and you learn to read between the lines to see the guys and what they're presenting. Like then you can get attracted to a different type, right? I think it's not just like, oh, there's like a whole bunch of guys on the dating site and like, I guess I should go after that one, even though I'm not into him, right? It's not that.
I always say give nice guys a chance, though, because
of course,
that is where the chemistry can develop over time.
It's true.
The problem is women like bad boys because bad boys have this charm to them. But when you want a good guy, you really want a guy that has actions following their words, and bad boys don't have that.
Exactly.
You need a guy with action. And the
And
other thing that's hard when you talked about seeing all these guys on the dating sites, I think the biggest complaint, and I hear this from both men and women, is, oh my God, that guy looked like my uncle Charlie, and that woman looks like my Aunt Sylvia. You know, it's like, because we don't see ourselves aging. And I had an experience, this was in my, I'd say my late 40s, and this was before Facebook. So I'm dating myself, but but there
whatever.
was
That's a good
I
thing.
don't care.
Because I didn't grow up with social media either. So you're speaking
I'm a
to the
lot
right
older than I'm
population.
older than you though. Yeah, well, I'm speaking the right, so they'll get this. All right. So there was no Facebook at the time, and um, I don't live in the same city I grew up in. So they had a reunion, and I never go to the reunions. I don't care. But if you do, it's great. So anyway, they sent pictures, and I did like that. And I'm looking at all the pictures, and I'm thinking, I remember what her mother looked like. She looks like her mother. And I remember his father. And oh my God, they all look so old. So I said to my son, who was like, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, and I said, Adam, how old do you think these people are? And he said, and I was probably in my late 40s, like I said, he goes, I think late 40s. And I said, do I look like them? And he said, no comment. Now, my kids have told me for years, oh, Mom, you look great. You look great. You look great. And we do look great, but we don't recognize the aging process. And so we go online and we see these people. It's like a shock to our system because we don't see ourselves that way. We see ourselves as younger.
Right, right, right. That makes
And
so
so
much
that
sense.
creates a problem.
Right, no,
Then,
it does.
mhm,
Right. Well, it does, and that's the nature of online dating, I think. Because if you meet someone in person, you get to feel their whole energy.
right. Right. You get to see their personality. I know there's men you would say no to online, and you meet them in real life and you go, oh my God, that's a great guy.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say give nice guys a chance and give the chemistry a chance to build.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I agree. So what you're talking about is that you help women really clarify what it is that they need and what they want at this stage in their life that's different, and you hold their hand through that process, and then you help them really define who is the type of person they want to be with now, that really
Yeah.
is right for me, not necessarily just following chemistry. And so then what are some of the other problems that make dating not fun for women over 50? Is it probably being insecure about our bodies, or maybe not having dated in 20 years and not knowing how to do the game now? I mean, it is so different.
Yeah. I think both of those do it. And I think online dating can bring out the greatest insecurities because people are judging you oftentimes
Mhm.
on a picture. And like we talked about a minute or two ago, about if you met in real life, it would be a different story. But you're just seeing a picture and you go, next, next, next. Oh, he has gray hair. Next. Oh, he looks
Right.
like, like I said, Uncle Charlie. So that's that makes it very difficult. The other thing that's really hard is when you hold on to beliefs like there are no good men out there.
Mm.
I'm telling you, there are. You can't see
Oh,
them, but there are.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, I support women in this age range all the time finding compatible men that really turn them on, as long as they really know what they're looking for, like you're saying.
Yeah, you have to know what you're looking for. But definitely, when you're going out there and you're not getting a lot of hits on a dating site, that can be um, a real hit to your ego, to yourself, and you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Well, it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. First of all, when you're going to go on a dating site, or when you're going to get out there and date, or when you're going to get out there and do anything, you have to find the good things about yourself. Everybody has flaws, and we think we're the only one that has flaws. I had a client tell me the other day that, she had gained some weight through COVID and hadn't taken it off, and she was just starting to date. And she really hadn't thought that, oh my gosh, guys have these issues too. They're not perfect by any means, but
Totally.
because we're so judgmental of ourselves and so critical of ourselves, we think that men are going to do the same thing. But men actually like the whole you. They don't pick out your parts and pieces.
I know. We could do a whole nother interview on that. Like, what do men actually find attractive in women? Because I really feel, and you know, I've never really had issues with my own body image. Thank God. Of course, I have other issues. But you know, everyone has issues, right? But I mean, so many women have issues with body image, and it's really like, if you could just see your body through the eyes of men, they're not criticizing it. If they ask you out, they think you're hot. Bottom line,
right.
You know. Right. And can you really take that in and focus on the parts of you that are? And of course, I help people. I help women heal body image through the various emotional healing modalities that I've learned. But like I said, it's not my main issue. But of course, I've had a big inner critic, and I've had to do a lot of healing work around that too. And so that's another thing that I think a lot of women have around their attractiveness. And not just because we're aging, but I think anytime we go through a breakup, before we've really fully processed what didn't work, what can we take responsibility for about that, and we've really done the healing and growth and grieving and forgiveness work, then we do tend to blame ourselves. And so I know that you have a group, and I imagine that that's a lot of because I run a women's group too, and I think yours is really special because it's really about this niche of women, single women over 50. And so I imagine that that's a huge antidote to the self-criticism, like either through, I don't know what I did wrong in my previous relationship, or I keep attracting the same type of guy over and over again. That's not good for me. Or I have a strong inner critic. The best antidote for that is seeing other women and seeing yourselves through the eyes of those women and getting the positive feedback and the encouragement and seeing the stories and feeling like you're doing it with someone, not on your own, right?
Well, the power of a group is you don't feel alone. And I always laugh when women join my group. I always say, now I come on to Zoom without makeup because I want you, except lipstick.
Me too.
Well, I might have makeup today, but when I come on a group,
you look great.
You're so sweet. But the reason I do this is I want them to start to learn to feel comfortable with themselves, because truthfully, and I tell them this, nobody else on that call is watching or judging whether you have makeup on or not. It's only you sitting on there going, oh my God, what are they going to think? Oh my God, I got a pimple today. I haven't had a pimple in 60 years, or, oh, my wrinkles are really coming through. That's what we do to ourselves. And if you go like this to your arm and you pinch it, this is psychically, until it hurts. You pinch it till it hurts. This is psychically what you do to yourself when you're constantly criticizing yourself. Yeah. You are creating that pain on your psyche every single day. Totally. And one of the greatest things you can do is in the morning, look in the mirror after you brush your teeth and ask yourself, what do you need from me today? And then yourself will tell you. And then you give yourself a high five. And you say to yourself, I've got your back. And then this way you are supporting yourself. And then another thing to do is to hug yourself. Especially when you're not in a relationship, to wrap your arms around yourself like this and to just rock. When you just rock sideways or forward, it's really, really comforting, because being single, you don't have touch like you do in a relationship. And you want to feel this love of yourself, because that is what you want to energetically send out there, that you are amazing just as you are. And you don't need to be perfect, because nobody is. Right. And to just love yourself right where you're at, right in this moment. And that's why that mirror work too is so important.
Totally. I love the mirror work. And I do that with my clients as well. And yeah, it's just so important. The research actually does show that self-touch releases oxytocin the same way as touch from someone else does. And I know it seems silly. I mean, I actually bought a bunch of those like fake fur, like hoodies. And so that's my hack, like, because my husband and I are actually doing long distance right now. And so I'll put that on and I'll touch myself and I actually feel like it gives me oxytocin. So I encourage people to try something like that and just play with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. You need to have that self-love. And when you're putting this vibration out there of I love myself, the guys that are supposed to step up will step up. I think one of the hardest things is for women is rejection. It is for men too. But
totally. But I think men just have more like tolerance to it, you know, because they are supposed to be the pursuers and kind of trained that way. So I think like everybody's scared of rejection, but like the more you're rejected, the more you build up a tolerance. It's just that I think that women don't have as much of a tolerance because we're not the pursuers. And I don't know, that's what it is for me. Like I historically, of course I've done a lot of work on myself and now I'm much more confident than I used to be. But like, yeah, I used to be terrified of approaching a man, and you know, that's the thing, is that if you approach a man in a feminine way, maybe he's available, you know?
And the real key is to have no expectation of how it's going to turn out. Because when we see a cute guy, truthfully, and you go, oh, he looks like my type. Really? But I understand it, but I'm going, really? Because what you're really seeing is a guy who's cute, who probably looks like another guy you've dated. And you're putting value on that, but he could be not such a great guy.
Right.
So if you approach a guy, that guy's got to prove he's worthy of you as well.
Exactly. I love that you said that.
Whereas we wind ourselves in and out and upside down to prove that we're the best for them. But that's how you end up in bad relationships, because you're not having the guy prove to you that he's worthy of you.
I absolutely love that. You know, I mean, I do want to talk more about dating over 50 in this group, but that concept I think is a really important one. You know, that yes, it's okay to approach a guy from feminine energy. I mean, it's okay no matter what. You know, if you just want to be friends, it doesn't matter what you do, right? But but what feminine energy means is that, and I love this concept that you just said, like we could do a whole interview just on that. It's up to the man to prove to you that he is who he says he is, that he is worthy of you giving him your heart. He has to earn that.
Right.
You know? And so it's important to learn the ways to allow him to earn that without pushing him away and without being a doormat, right? Because I think that's an art that a lot of people just haven't been taught. And so I imagine that that's what you do in your group, is that you teach women how to, I like to call it vet men, to tell, you know, what are their vision and values and life purpose, and do we want the same things, and, you know, what do they want in relationship, and are they who they say they are, and all those things. And, you know, you can't go into it like an interrogation. It has to be fun.
Yeah, not a resume thing. So I'm really about having fun on that first date, because an interesting thing happens when you ask questions that aren't resume building, dating resume building.
Exactly.
Is everybody relaxes. First dates are hard. Everybody relaxes, but you really get to see his personality.
Yeah.
So you want to ask questions about shared history. So an example of this is, now, I will date myself again here, but when John Kennedy was shot and killed, I was in third grade, and we were supposed to have a brownie meeting, and all the brownie leaders are sobbing. The brownie meeting got canceled. But so I was in third grade. I was probably 8 or 9. All right. And I went on a date with a guy, and somehow we were talking about events in history. And I said, oh, well, first of all, he had told me he was 5 years older than me. And at the time, I think I was like 55. Okay. So he was supposedly 60. So I said, so where were you when John Kennedy was shot? And he said, I was working. I said, working? Wait a minute. I was in third grade. You're 5 years older than me. It was like, that's a way to catch a guy with age,
Exactly.
But it's also a way, had he been 5 years older than me, honestly, he would have shared that history. And what happens when you're sharing that piece of history is you come from your passions, you come from who you are.
Exactly.
Just different events in history that happened and where were you? It's a great conversation versus how many kids do you have? What do you
Right.
do? I mean, you of course you can know that, but you could say, what's the thing you love about your family? Or do you have kids and what's the biggest thing you love about that? Or where was
Exactly.
your favorite place to go on vacation? Because
Yes.
this gives you a chance to go back and forth versus it's like, what's your sign? In
Right.
college, it would be like, what's your sign?
I mean,
What was your
if you're interested in
major?
that, great. But yeah, no, I think that you're honing on a really important point here, which is we have to take the conversations deeper and look for values instead of just interests. And the questions that you're asking, and you can't just be like, what are your values? Or what is your life purpose?
No,
Or where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because those are interview questions, right? So it's about really getting authentic. And of course, we have to know the answers to our own answers to those same questions because we're trying to create this deeper emotional connection about what's important to us because that's what reveals what his values are and that's what'll show you if you actually want the same things or not.
and I would also say, don't do things that are kind of a little off the wall on a first date. So I'll share a quick story. This was in my 40s, though, before I was a dating coach. I didn't know what I was doing. And I went out with this doctor. We had this couple of great phone conversations. And I was really into all this alternative healing at the time and energy work and all that. So he's a doctor and he had told me about some interesting energy things he did. All right. So I start to tell him, well, let me show you this one thing. And I rubbed my hands together because you can feel your energy this way. And I said, oh, okay, feel my hands around you. Anyway, another friend of mine went out with them and they were talking about the weirdest dates. And he said, I went out with this person who was showing me all this energy. And it was me. Now, later on, because I was in a relationship at that, after that happened and we double dated and the two of us laughed about the date. But what people can tolerate on a first date is a totally different thing that they could tolerate as they get to know you. So
Of
I
course.
call it don't slap the crap on the wall and see what sticks. Bring your best self to that date. Bring your bubbly personality to that date. Bring your softer side to that date. Be interested, be interesting, be conversational, not monologuing, and have fun. But don't bring the wackadoodle stuff like I did. And, which
Right.
later, like I said, later on, we laughed about it, he and I, but it was like that he wanted to go out to dinner on the phone. Well, he couldn't have gotten out of that date any faster.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, no, I mean, it is a sweet spot between being yourself and being authentic and having fun and making it playful, and
Authentic.
like not trying to be determining if he's the right one for you on the first date. Cause that energy
Oh,
just, either by let me share the weirdest part of me to see if he can handle it or let
yep.
me interview him, like that's coming usually from anxiety and I have to find out really quickly if this is the one, right? And so of course I'm sure you and I have ways to teach women how to work through that anxiety so that they could feel more confident and secure so that they can have more fun on the date.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, if a guy's a nice guy, give him a chance because first dates are not really people's best selves always. It is nerve-wracking. And
Right.
also, don't spend forever on a first date. One, it can lead to sex. And you don't really want to have sex on a first date because not for the morality, it's your choice. What it is about is your vision gets clouded once you've had sex because of the oxytocin releasing. And you don't want it to be so long that the second time you come back together, you don't have anything to talk about. Leave something there, like go for an hour, hour and a half, and then out and say, I'm having so much fun. this would be fun to do again. Because then it leaves some mystery there. It leaves, something for the
Intrigue.
next time. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to spill it all on the first date. And that's what I think that's the pressure. And that's what makes people miserable. I got to figure out if they're the one and if they're going to like all my garbage.
Right, exactly. And how do I talk about that? And yeah, and I mean, I'm sure like one of the things I love doing with my clients is role plays. I'm sure that's probably one of the things you do too, right? Like how to show up on a date, and here's the questions I want to ask, and like, well, I'm imagining that there's a guy in front of me. How do I feel? And then working through that, and so that's also a way to make it fun, is just play with it.
We do it a little. We don't do real role playing where the way it works. I think it's the experience. The other thing that will help in 50s, 60s, and 70s is a lot of times people have what's called practice relationships. That's what I call them. And they're like 2 and 3 year relationships. And then they come out of it. They think a lot of it has to do with fear of making mistakes, that they end up in 2 and 3 year relationships. Then boom, they cut off. Oh my God, am I making a mistake? Am I doing this or am I doing that? Versus if you have been in a long-term relationship from when you were young, lots of mistakes happened. But I think also you learn from these relationships. And
Absolutely.
We did have practice relationships when we were young. We had relationships in junior high school or college. And we think like we're going to come out of a divorce or the passing of a spouse and boom, find the guy. And you really do have to date and be in relationships because it's going to help you see what you really do and don't want. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And that can be fun.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, that's what I imagine, it's like in your group, because if you're talking about these things with each other, it's just so much more fun than going over it in your own head, right? We kind of get tripped up about going over all this in our own head. But if you're talking about it in a group, you'll get experiences from other women that you can learn from, and inspiration and reflection back about the things you're doing well.
Yeah, I happen to agree. I think the biggest thing I hear about the group is women just don't feel like they're doing it alone. Whereas when you are doing it alone, you don't know if you're doing it right. You don't know what to do if something goes wrong. And it doesn't have to be a right. Everything's a learning experience. There's really no right or wrong. But you don't necessarily know how to pick yourself back up and what a next step is. And then you come to care about other people who are going through it. And you do get inspired because if you're just starting, they were just starting at one point and now they're dating and you see, oh my God, this is really possible. And that's what's so wonderful about being in a group. And people are all different in a group, all different shapes, sizes, colors, cultures in a group. And that's what makes it so cool, because you'll see, oh my God, wow, they're inspiring. It is. A group is a wonderful place to be.
It really is, because I run a group too. And like I said, it's a much more general niche. So if you're a woman in her 50s who's having the challenges that we've been talking about, then Lisa's group is probably better fit for you. And I encourage you to reach out to her. I mean, of course, I also love my group, but I really want to highlight the importance, or not just the importance, because I love the one-on-one work too, but with dating, I feel like a group is a really unique thing, because, I'm feeling lonely and isolated because of long distance. And obviously I'm working through that on an emotional, spiritual level and having a bunch of great insights, but it's totally different than feeling lonely and isolated when you're single. And I think that just talking to your girlfriends, or even just doing one-on-one coaching, if you want to go really deep, that's a great option. But it doesn't give you that sense of connection and shared reality, and we're doing it together. And like, you can be inspired by other women's journeys that are kind of like you and they're going through the same thing, so there's something really unique and advantageous. And also, if you're not sure what you want, then you can be inspired by the other women's visions who are creating something unique for themselves. So I imagine that, a group is just a really wonderful, like your group in specific is wonderful to address this particular group of women and also these particular issues. And so I'd love to just hear you talk more about your group. Like, how does it work and what are some of the inspiring stories that women have had?
Okay. Well, I used to be all about one-on-one coaching. I thought, oh, we could go super, super deep. And then I started to run a group. And what I found that the women in the group were the most successful. And I think it is the motion of the group. And in my group, everybody starts when they come in. Nobody starts at the same time. I used to run a group like that. And I found that there wasn't as much learning involved because nobody was far enough ahead to get that inspiration. Or there would be competition, and you don't want competition because everybody's on their own journey. And I truly believe in universal timing for when a guy's going to come in. I do. But the group is just a wonderful place to get the dating strategies, the dating mindset strategies, and to just have fun and to learn and to grow and to share experiences. So I find, like I said earlier, the people that are further along, the newbies learn from them, and actually they learn, the people further along learn from the newbies because you got to hear things more than, well, actually 7 times for it to sink in.
Right. I know. Tell me about it.
A real one.
Right. I know. No, I know. I mean, I noticed that in my own learning and growth, of course. They say repetition is the mother of learning, right?
Yeah. It actually is. And sometimes you go, oh, God, I have to hear that again. But I guarantee that it will sink in a different way depending on where you are on that journey.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I agree. Like, a group is great for that because you get the same message from different angles as well. And so, tell us about your group then. How do people get in touch with you about it? And how does it work? Is it weekly calls or, any information?
We get together twice a month on Monday nights on Zoom. I bet I come with no makeup, except for lipstick. And then it has private coaching in it too. I do office hours every week where people can come in and, just work with me privately. And we get real focused. So women leave those 15 minutes going, oh my God, I think I did more in 15 minutes than sometimes I've done in hours, in other situations, because we leave the stories at the door, we come in with the problem and we move into the solution, because it's really easy to hang on to our stories, but our stories are not really the problem. Our stories are just validation of the problem. So it's really important.
It's a wonderful way of saying that.
So it's really important to identify the problem and then get you some next steps so that you feel comfortable moving forward. And then there's also an online program part that you do on your own. And I've had wonderful success stories. During COVID was one of the scariest times for women, and we just slowed everything down, and everything was slowed, and it was like hoarding. And there are some, because you had to slow down when it first started. And do the little pockets of people that you would be with, all that, because nobody knew anything.
I know. And do video dating and but you have to take it slow then. I agree. And it is more about courtship, and there's an advantage to that.
But even now, there is, I always tell women, COVID was one thing. You do want to meet. I do feel you want to meet between 2 and 3 weeks of the initial contact. One, it gets scammers out in the open really quickly, because if they can't meet you, if somebody says, I can't meet you, you want to say to them, you know what, when you're in the area, reach out again. And also be careful of too many phone calls. That's how they hook you in as well.
Yeah. Or too many texts. A lot of guys try to create a whole relationship over text.
Well, the scammers can't do that. That's why they get you on the phone with those gorgeous English accents.
Right.
So 1 or 2 phone calls and get to the meet and greet,
Exactly.
And don't have a text relationship, because it's not a relationship. Or a full relationship is not a relationship.
No,
And
exactly.
yeah, so it's I don't know. I just think that, like I said, I get help in my own life when I need help with things. And if you need help and you want to set up a time to talk, there's an application on my website, which is findequalityman.com. Fill it out. If I feel like it's short, it'll take you like 2 minutes. And if I feel like I can help you, I will, we'll set up a complimentary session. We'll talk, we'll see what's going on. But if I feel there's a better resource for you, I will let you know that too.
Of course.
So,
Yeah. I mean, that's how we know you're really in integrity. You want to help only the women that you can help.
yeah, of course. Then we're
Yeah.
a fit. We have to be a fit too, just like you have to be a fit with a guy.
Of course, right? Isn't that a great microcosm, right? And that's what I love about coaching, because when we do find the clients that we're meant to help, that relationship helps to give people the confidence. We reflect back to them their relationship skills, and that connection helps. We can't really put it into words, but there's a tangible connection with everyone that we have a close relationship with in our lives. And that includes helping professionals. And all of that gives us the energy and the confidence and the sort of like friendly push in the back towards what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I do have a free gift.
Exactly. Yes, I would love to. And so I'll post the link to your website below this video too, of course. And if you're listening to the podcast, then it'll be in the show notes. And I will absolutely put the link for your free gift below this as well. And so I would love to hear you talk about it.
So it's called the 5 Little Known Secrets for Finding a Quality Man. And it's really good for really anybody dating, whether you're just starting, whether you're in a rut and you just need some ideas. It'll give you some ideas about where to meet men in real life, about flirting, about how to write your profile, where to go, what dating sites to go to. And it's just a little jumpstart ebook. And, it's just a great way to just to refresh yourself or to teachers, to get some knowledge if you're just starting out.
Of course. And of course, they're little known secrets. So, I mean, I definitely think that we could all benefit from those. And I definitely, I've heard you talk about your group because we've chatted about it as well. And so if I were, single and over 50, I would certainly join, because I feel like we really need people who get us, who are kind of going through what we're going through, in order to feel like we're not in it alone. And so if you're feeling that way, then of course I encourage you to get Lisa's free gift and see if her group is right for you. And regardless though, I mean, I think that let's just hone in on the things that we've covered during this talk that people can take away with them right now, is that, it really is up to us. The older we get, the more we know ourselves, the more we get to learn from our mistakes and from what worked and what didn't work, and create something new for the future, right? And who gave us the tools and support for that, right? So if you don't have tools and support, or, the knowledge and the skills for how to get what you want and identify it, then, there's so many tools and books and resources and coaches and groups out there, right? And so what we've talked about is our take on it.
Yeah. And, you can do it all on yourself and take 10 years to figure it out, or you can jumpstart. But either way, take whatever resonates with you, find someone that resonates with you. That's the most important thing, and someone you feel that's really going to genuinely help you if you feel like you need the help.
Well, of course.
There's lots of people out there that can do that for you. Including us.
Including us, right. Although I've really enjoyed hearing about your take, because what I like about your message is that there is no right way to do it. It's all about being authentic and creating that authentic connection, both with yourself first, with that self-love, and with identifying what you need to really feel loved by someone else and not just your type, right? And then once you create that new blueprint to really get out of your own way, get out of your old stories, and learn the right way to actually meet that kind of guy, it can help to get that outside support, and especially with other women that are going through the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited to have women check out your group. And of course, if you have any questions about anything that we've shared, whether you're listening to this on the podcast or whether you're watching the video, of course, if you like it, hit the like button. And if you have any questions, please post them below, because as coaches, we love answering people's questions and we love supporting you and getting the love that you deserve. And that's really what it boils down to. So bring it, and we'll bring it. And let's just have, the best path, identify the best path towards experiencing that soul shaking love, both with yourself and with your true love. And so thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Valerie.